How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Greels Reels. I'm your host, Robert Greeley, and today we have Rashad Spooner on talking about his whole football career. Without further ado, let's just get right into it. Spooner, the best spoon ever, according to his Instagram handle. How you been, man?
Good, good. How you doing?
I'm good, man. So you got to tell me the story behind that, man. Where'd that handle? That's how we're starting. The best spoon ever. Where'd that handle come from?
And it started from being in college, trying to figure out a clever name. With my brother, my other brother, so I wanted to stand out. So I just said, you know what, best spooner ever is gonna get people talking. So hey, it just stuck.
No, fair enough. Let's go back to that level of football. And I know you just mentioned your brother. Is that kind of where it developed? Because I mean, your older brother is playing in the CFL, obviously. So maybe there's some impression there. Or where did you get into football?
Well, I did grow up watching my older brother play football, but it wasn't just him. My cousins, older friends of mine, friends of my brothers, watching them play ball was something that I love to do. And just going to their practices, I just love the environment. It was something special, something that you'd look forward to on a Friday, Thursday, Saturday morning. So then, hey, my mom signed me up one year, and my brother and my little brother and myself signed us both up, and we were basically like, we loved it ever since. I believe Mosquito for myself, Adam for my brother, my little brother. We've been playing football since.
Does it get pretty competitive then? Everybody trying to outdo each other in the stats. I know Kadar is an offensive lineman, so he doesn't have many stats, but
Yeah, we always try to see who could go the furthest. Obviously, he made it to the CFL. He beat us to the punch. He's a little older, obviously. But always growing up, we were always competing. Who's the fastest? Who's the strongest? Who's the best on the field in general? So just coming back home with stats was something that I could do. Obviously, O-lines don't get that much recognition for the work that they do, but hey, it is what it is.
So what are you up to now? Training or like are you still striving for the CFL? I know you had a combine invite that obviously got cut because of COVID.
You know what? I am always staying in shape. I'm working out constantly. But I mean, hey, you can't just sit around with your hands tied. I'm just hoping for the best. I'm trying to get a career going in whatever field necessary. Right now, I'm just working at the gym. Like I said, staying in shape and just doing some volunteer work, working with Limitless a little bit. Trying to give whatever tips, whatever advice I can give to people that are younger and getting into the same um, situation that I did.
hmm And I guess one of the things you can talk about with them is, the route that it takes to get to a U Sport level of a program. And the one stop for you along that way, which is, a pretty prominent stop, a lot of top football players coming out of the CEGEP program in Vanier there. What made you decide to go there? And then, obviously tell me about your time there because you guys had a hell of a time.
Yeah. Damn, Vanu were those are some good days. I basically followed the steps of my older brother. He ended up going to Vanier, and I remember like it was yesterday. We were playing back in Montreal, St. Leo Field. We were playing Lakeshore Cougars, and I remember when the offensive coordinator came down. His name's Coach Joe. He came down, he took a look at me, and he's like, "Your name's Spooner," and I was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Any relation to Kadar Spooner?" And I was like, "Oh man, that's the way you're my name." Yeah. And after that, I ended up going to a few indoor practices with Vanier College. Ended up loving it. The competition inside the gymnasium was something different. Never experienced it before. I fell in love with it right off the bat. So I did 3 years there. And then after my third year, I got scouted by uOttawa, and uOttawa said, "Hey, we want to watch you play for us," and it was then signed over at uOttawa.
Hey, the rest is history, I guess. At Vanya, you developed a relationship there with Justin Howell,
Yeah.
who, is another, like I said, the list of Vanier alums who are talented football players is ridiculously long. And obviously, he went to Carleton. What's it like having a teammate and a guy you're so close with go to such a massive rival, and you guys are just competing constantly over the years? And then, obviously, you get to see his successes with the Red Blacks on the main stage. He actually just re-signed. So, hey, Hal, if you're listening to this, congrats, big guy. Nice little contract extension.
You know what? Hal was always a phenomenal football player. Back in college, he was able to show out, put out, and start right off the bat. Playing with him, practicing with him was always something fun. It was always a competition, and that's something that a lot of football players love, that competitive aspect of the game. Personally, I just love competing. I didn't really care who it was against, who it was. So just having Justin Howell on the other side of the ball, it was just something. At the end of the game, we could shake hands, but we could always say like, "I got the one up on you," depending on what the situation was, obviously.
Mm-hmm. And so I guess now after, Vanier, and you've mentioned, and it's quite obvious, you committed to the University of Ottawa. What was that recruitment process like for you? What kind of really sold that program in particular, and why'd you end up choosing to, don the garnet and gray?
Shoot, I kind of just wanted to get on. I kind of just wanted to get out of the RCQ. I just want a little bit different environment, atmosphere. The thing about the RCQ is that they were playing the same teams over and over again. You don't really get that much. You don't really play that different types of teams, styles of play. So just being able to go out and experience Ontario for what it's worth. There's a lot of athletes out here. They are younger, but at the same time, they're just as athletic. They might be a little bit more raw, but it was a lot. It was a lot more fun, in my opinion, to just go out and travel different areas of Ontario and see what football was like in different areas. They do have their powerhouse teams. Obviously, you know who they are. I'm not going to name any names, but I love to play teams that play smash mouth football, and then some that are just a little more, I guess, finesse. I would say, yeah.
Where do you categorize each OUA team for the most part? Like, who do you put more in that finesse category? Who do you put more in that smash mouth category?
Western would definitely be one of those teams that are more smash mouth. Good contender would be a team that we always play well against is Queens. We always give them a run for their money, and vice versa. McMaster's a very finesse team. I wouldn't say like they have a bunch of like star athletes, but they do work their playbook very well. Shoot, there's definitely some teams I'm forgetting right here, but yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I guess
yeah. No, I mean the OUA competition is definitely. I mean, there's what 11 team. I'm trying to think of how many teams are in the league, right? So I mean, there's definitely just it's the biggest league. I mean, the AUS doesn't have as many teams, and the
exactly.
RCQ and AOS is the same, right? So I mean, it definitely provides a little bit more variety in your competition, right? Because RCQ, I believe you got to play the same team twice, right, in a season, whereas every one of our games in the OUA is going to be different. With you, how did you take on that challenge of trying to fit into, your defensive scheme that obviously JV or whoever the defensive coordinator was at? Because you had two defensive coordinators during your time, or did you come in right as JV came in?
No, I came in when Devin Murphy was the
Yeah.
defensive coordinator. Um, and then I had to adapt a year later to Coach JV's. To be honest, football is football, no matter which way you look at it. It's just different names, different names of techniques of play. I would say it wasn't that hard. It was just like adapting to what they wanted from you. Like a lot of teams, a lot of coaches, they just want you to ball out, play your type of football, and they'll fit you into their scheme as best as possible. And I feel like JV did a very good job at doing that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I mean, the defense has definitely been a standout and a talking point for uOttawa over the last, 4 years, essentially. Uh, and I mean, they've won a lot of games because of the defense, right? Like a really close knit,
Yeah.
13-10 games against Guelph a couple years and stuff like that, right? Where it's almost you're nail biting for the whole time, right? And it's one of those things where you're sat back and you're just like, oh, like what's gonna happen? What's gonna play out here? Going into just the different games that uOttawa and Panda being one of the biggest ones. Being from Quebec, you've grown up and you've seen massive rivalry games between Laval and Montreal that get similar crowds if it's an RCQ championship or even maybe a national championship hosted in like Quebec City. But Pandas, they still got a couple thousand more on that game. What's it like playing in that moment?
To be honest, I've never been to a Laval Montreal game.
Okay.
It was only in my later career I started watching it on the internet or on TV. But playing in that type of atmosphere is completely different. Some people they kind of lose where they're at in the moment. But to be honest, when you're actually on the field, you don't actually realize what's going on around you. It may render your ability to hear things to a certain degree, but once you're in those four lines, you don't hear anything. You're not really worried about what's going on in the stands. You're really just focused on getting the play and doing it, and obviously looking at the clock when it comes down to situations.
Mm-hmm. And I want to go back to a moment where, we broke that streak of Carlton's winning streak, and an emotional day all around, right? The year before, just to provide kind of a backstory, is we lose in double overtime, and we were so close to getting there, and then you go the year before and you finally get the W. And one thing that I remember with you after the game is because you always wore that Loic undershirt. So for people who don't know, Loic passed away before that game there. Um, right, right as we're going in to that week, and you've got the LK49 shirt with the Loic picture on the front, and then you were able to put that on Pedro, the Panda game trophy after we broke that streak. Can you take me through that moment for you?
It was something different. It was definitely the year before, playing it right after he passed away was something very sad. Something we always thought about throughout the year. We always said, "I wish Loic was here." You hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
My camera just went off. So yeah, but actually winning it was just like a weight was lifted off your shoulders, and it was kind of just like for him personally, if we did it for him, in my opinion. And I kind of felt like he was there the year after. I felt like, you know what, we kind of won this and we won it for you, as well as just being able to walk around the city and finally say, yeah, we're 2-0 against Carleton at our home. I mean, it meant a lot. But again, it's just another game. I like to think of Panda just another game, because it's right in the middle of the season. It doesn't really affect whether you go to playoffs or not. The real goal is obviously the Yates and then the Vanier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean it's tough because it's definitely such an emotionally draining game right in the middle of your season, and when it does, I guess in terms of the standings, reap the same reward as just a regular season win. Obviously, there's a lot more to it with the bragging rights, but it's tough to kind of get re-motivated for the next game. But yeah, no, it was definitely a surreal and special moment. Just kind of placing Pedro in Loic's locker after back at Lee's and stuff like that is something that it's a memory that I hold close to my heart. But now as the season goes on after those games, what are some mental tricks for you to help prepare and try and resonate again with like just that incredible atmosphere going into another game that's gonna the crowd size is gonna be cut down to like 90% almost from what it was the week before?
Well, one thing I like to kind of keep in the back of my mind, and like I said before, it's just a game. I mean, it does help with momentum. It's like if you're winning a game and you're 20 points up halfway through the halfway through the entire game, it really does shift the momentum to your side. So just winning that halfway through the season is kind of just like, okay, we won this, now let's keep going. Something that does happen at times is I felt it, like we've lost it, and then people get caught up trying to think about what we could have done better. It's like, it happened, it's done, and you have to have short-term memory. And that's the best way to kind of approach it in any way. And that's exactly how you approach any game. It happened, we learn from our mistakes, and we keep moving forward. If you keep dreading, okay, like, oh, we lost because our offense wasn't moving, or we kept getting blown coverages, you're going to constantly be fearful that, oh, we got to play this way, we got to do this, we can't really depend on our offense, and you start to make things really unachievable. So just thinking about, oh, it happened, whatever. Even if we did win, great, we won. Now we just got to work on the next win, focus on what the next team does differently, and execute that in practice. Really.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%. It's, a constant theme with a lot of high performance athletes is just short-term memory. It happened, forget about it, move on, let's go. Like, don't celebrate the wins for too long, and don't dread the losses for even longer, right?
Yeah, exactly.
One thing that I found really interesting, with you was you were a part of like a core, really close group with the twins, Kadeem, Ricardo, all those guys, and then, eventually they all graduate, and and you're kind of there, within that, yeah, with that core group. I mean, like walk me through that, because I mean, it was definitely, I feel like, personally, there was a lot of change in just, seeing you at the field every day, because you weren't surrounded by those guys constantly.
Yeah, it was definitely a different atmosphere. We used to call ourselves the Dally Street Boys. We lived on one end of Dally, and they lived on the other. And they would literally beat us at our house, and then we'd walk to the field. So not having that I guess that brotherhood, that tight knit brotherhood, from, because we all came from Montreal, we all from different parts of Montreal, but the fact that we were all from the same place and we ended up to another same area was kind of like meaningful for us and to us. So, I mean, coming to practice, I mean, I still had a lot of people that I'm fairly close with on the team that I saw every day, that I still had the same connection. It's just, it was different, obviously. Coming to practice, we didn't have the same, it wasn't the same atmosphere, I can tell you that much, but I still look forward to coming to the field, talking to the guys I came in with my rookie year. And my rookie year, there was a lot of people left over, a lot of guys that we still had a lot of work to do. So having those guys around me was definitely a motivating factor to just keep pushing forward and trying to achieve something great.
That Daly group, or Daily group, whatever you wanna. I lived on Daly or Daily for a while too in my university career.
Yeah,
I still,
I don't know if it's Dally or Daily, but
I still mess it up all the time. I don't really know actually what it is. What do you think are, maybe your top story out of that group? Because I know you guys are just absolutely comical.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in our house. Jamie, I would say, is he's a force to be reckoned with in the kitchen. He's always doing something in the kitchen. But they had a lot of stories at the other house down the street. Crazy stories about the house they lived in. Crazy stuff that I can't really talk about on camera. But I don't want to get anybody in trouble. But there were a lot of crazy stories, a lot of crazy things that happened in that house down the street.
Oh man, that's it doesn't surprise me, to say the least. Going into that last year too, you started, going around on the bus on road trips, and doing your whole little, Spooner show, and things of that nature. Asking, because you'd always pitch some ideas to me too, and you loved what the Baltimore Ravens put out in the, who on the team when you let date my sister. So you kind of went around with that a little bit for the
Honestly,
Snapchat.
I don't know why, but I thought it was pretty funny. But then it got kind of like hurtful when everybody started saying, like, I was the Stephon Diggs on the team, and I was like, you guys are just being disrespectful. I'm a good guy. I would definitely treat your sisters very, very well. But hey, it is what it is.
I was gonna say, why do you yeah, because you started off laughing and then you get a couple. Spooner, it's you, man. I wouldn't let you date my sister. How are you feeling? What are you thinking?
I personally remember asking Reed Kessler, I'm like, he doesn't even have a sister. And I was like, who on the team would you not let date your sister? And I love Kessler. Like, I love him a lot, like a brother. And this guy said, like, you. I was like, I was hurt. That's after that, me and Kessler's relationship kind of went downhill. We stopped talking to each other for a couple of months, and then he started to reach out to me here and there, and we started to make amends. But I don't know, man. It was when I started getting like all the shots fired at me. I was like, you know what, this is not going anywhere. I should stop it right here.
Has Kessler ever told you his like recruitment story and like how like you were a part of the reason why he committed to the University of Ottawa?
To be honest, I kind of heard it from other people, and he was kind of telling other people. But I don't know why he would commit because of me. I'm not that great. Like I think I'm great, but for somebody to say I committed because of Spooner,
Well, I mean, I don't want to. It's his story, and I don't want to tell too much because I do actually want to have him on the podcast. And I think it'd be a great story for his episode. But it basically came down to the premise of, he was just chilling out in the office, and you came in and was just like, "Hey, man, you want a T-shirt?" And he was like, "No, like you don't have to do that." And you were like, "Man, like don't worry about it. I got you," and things of that nature. Then Coach B walked in. He thought you were gonna get in some trouble, but Coach B was like, "Ah, Spooner, like don't even worry about it. Like I'll make sure he gets the T-shirt." And Kess was basically like, "Yeah, I never actually got the T-shirt after, but Spooner just made me feel welcome, so I had to. It just felt like a thing to do. What's it mean to you to I guess have that personality that brings some people in every now and then?"
hey, I like to have a playful personality. A lot of people say I'm mean. I don't think I am. But once you get past the tough exterior, you see I'm pretty soft on the inside. Um, Honestly, I like to be playful. I like to make jokes all the time. When it's time to be serious, I'll be serious. But yeah, I remember when he came in. I do remember when he came in. Um, Coach B always had a lot of stuff in his office. Like he wasn't sharing. I don't know what he was doing with the stuff, but he was not sharing. So I was like, you know what, my guy? Like, if I get in trouble, you might as well get in trouble too. You're already here for a recruiting trip. You don't have anything to lose. Like they want you, you don't want them, type thing. So I was basically like, if we get caught, he's gonna kind of be a little bit lenient on me. So I brought Kessler into the office. I'm like, yo, let's grab some gear real quick and then head out. And then in the midst of that, we got caught. So he let me go because he had to talk to Kessler.
Hey, I mean, it's a decent game plan. I actually did want to chat with you a little bit about that whole, tough exterior and that, the classic tough guy. Cause I do think, a lot of people, they give you that reputation as being that, tough guy who's always serious and can't have, any fun. But I mean, I honestly disagree to that. Once you get to know, yourself, man, like, we've had lots of hearts over the years. And like, I really enjoy every time I get the chance to chat with you. And I think you are a really funny dude with a lot of great, stories. But I guess like, what's your response to all that?
Uh, I wouldn't say that they're lying. I don't like to get close to a lot of people other than my
Mhm.
teammates. Those guys that I spend like day and night with. Like you, especially during like training camp, you're there at 6 a.m. You leave at 11 o'clock. These guys know me the best. I mean, for somebody on the outside to be like, yo, like you know that guy? He's kind of mean. He's kind of dry. I'm like, it is what it is. Like I can't really say much about it. I mean,
Mm.
you can't just open up yourself to anybody. Just like Coach JV used to always say, don't let anyone have leverage on you. So, hey, I'll give you the answers you need to know. I'll give you the information you need to know. But other than that, you don't need to know much.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, you kind of you go about everything the way that you do, and you keep to yourself. And I think a part too. One thing that I've always admired about you is like you're workaholic, man. Like you're always at something, working full time in university and, managing to keep good grades. And then obviously your performance on the field speaks for itself as well. Why was it important, one, to perform well in all aspects that you were doing? And what really drives you towards that?
Hey, that's a good question. Never really thought about it. I guess if there's one way I want people to remember me, whether it's being on and off the field, it's just like hardworking. I'm a dog. Like if it comes down to like you being better than me, it's not because you're better than me because you work harder. It's probably because you're gifted. You better be gifted. If not, like there's you can definitely calculate how good you're gonna be when you work hard.
Hmm.
I mean, if you just always work hard, in my opinion, you'll be successful. And I can say that to a certain degree, I've been successful in everything that I've accomplished. A lot more to accomplish, obviously, but I'm happy where I'm at right now. Not to say that I'm content, but I'm grateful for where I'm at right now. Yeah.
Do you want to shed some like light on those businesses that you were doing in university? Because correct me if I'm wrong, but I know you did like the whole like bouncing.
Yeah, so your boy was part of a little security group in the Byward market. So we were basically doing security at a lot of different bars, clubs, restaurants, you name it. I actually worked with Kadeem this summer, uh, doing some more security for this, that, and the other. I was also working at Good Life. Obviously, you know that.
Mhm.
I did take a couple leave of absences during the football season because obviously football school it's hard to manage. But I was working some part time shifts here and there. But one of the hardest things I would say is like working overnight right before a game, and then you have to play the game the next morning, and then coaches would look at me like, "Did you work last night?" And I'm kind of like, "No." And still be able to play, I guess. Working the night before you actually travel to a game was kind of like hard on the body, but at the end of the day, I had to do it. Financially, obviously, your boy's not rich, so I had to pay for school, had to pay for other things, housing, you name it. So, I
Mhm.
mean, it's what was needed to be done to get where I'm at. So, obviously, I had to do it. In my opinion, I had to do it. There's always the easy way out. I could have just what not done it and ended up dropping out, but nah, that's not me.
No, 100%. You know, it's always good when, you're putting the work in because that means those special moments and those like significant moments in your life mean that much more, right?
Yeah.
You really, really did work for it. What's your top five do nots when it comes to bouncers at the nightclub? What's as a customer, what shouldn't you be doing? Because I've seen you in some of those instances, man, those examples. So I'm
I
curious.
just want to say that before I get into this, I'm not a fighter. I'm a lover. I'm always put in these situations where I have to like mediate or break up a situation, and I have to. I don't want to do it, but one, if you go to the bar, please, please don't have your own ID. I hate it when somebody comes up, gives me some other person's ID and says, "Oh yeah, that's me," and I'm like, "You look nothing like this person, and you know none of the information on this card." My favorite is when somebody gives me like a fake ID from Montreal, and I guess they're the easiest to like to duplicate. And they're telling me, "Yeah, this is a Montreal card. You don't know what a Montreal ID looks like?" I'm like, "The boy's from Montreal, so." Yeah, I do, and this is not one. And I'll literally cut it up in front of them just to kind of like show them like I'm like 100% sure it's not them.
Mhm.
A lot of the times, I don't know, people like to get rude with me at the door for no reason. I'm a nice guy. I make jokes sometimes, but I'm a nice guy. So for the most part, I like to play around with them. But when they start getting rude with me, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm like, not gonna deal with it. So like, don't be rude at the door. Be nice.
Ba- ba- Bouncers are people too.
Exactly. I man, there's so many things that I could think about, just not on the top of my head. I mean, just having those guys from Montreal around me, we would go through lists of things that we would go through on a weekly basis, and it's like, why would you think that's like that's normal? I don't understand. But
Yeah.
I must say, Canadian girls, in the winter, they they honestly they deserve a trophy or something. They don't make awards for them because they'll wear open toe shoes in the winter and they'll be standing in slush, snow,
The
and
amount of like people I've heard of getting like frostbite on their toes from like an open night out, like a night out with like open toe shoes on, it's insane. And
you
there's
know,
like that. Do you see that meme on Facebook that's been going
yeah,
around recently?
I'm telling you, girl, like these girls don't feel it. Like they'll stand outside, like I don't know if they're hit by the liquor already, but like they'll stand outside for 2-3 hours, think that I'm doing it on purpose sometimes, but I'm not. And they'll just stand outside for 2-3 hours looking at me, and I feel bad for them. I get cold just looking at them, and I'm there in like double sweatpants, pants over top of that, and then Under Armour t-shirt, sweater, you name it, and I'm cold just looking at them. So, I must say, when girls go out in the winter, they deserve an award.
Yeah, no, it's crazy to think about. And honestly, I guess going back into football there now, because how we kind of got down this bouncing rabbit hole is just talking about your work ethic and the things that you strive for. And you excelled in a lot of positions on the football field, and I don't think a lot of people realize how much of like a utility kind of guy you were, where you could almost put you at a DB linebacker. You've seen a little bit of long snapping as well, in I guess potentially emergency situations slash like more of a permanent start, like in the later years and things of that nature. But I mean, also too, your play on specials is pretty exceptional as well. With all that like being said, like how do you manage being in like a multi-positional role where your game to game slash practice to practice could change up on you and what you have to do?
Oh, well, you said a lot just there. So where should I start? Honestly, just playing a role and knowing that when your number can be called and where it can be called, it shows how good of a football player when coaches tell you, "Hey, this week I want to play you here," or "This week I want to see you do this or do that." I mean, it shows how much you can adapt in situations, in last minute situations, and I was cool with it. I mean, any opportunity to play is an opportunity. You just have to make that opportunity count, obviously. Um, to snap, it's funny how you brought that up. I can't believe the year that I started snapping was probably in like I want to say 2018, maybe 2019, and I was joking with Coach Taylor. Everybody who used to snap for us has. I was probably the only player that that never had an injury that was snapping, a serious injury, I guess you could say. We had one guy tear his ACL, one guy tear his patella. No, it wasn't patella tendon. Something more serious. Everybody was dropping like flies, and I was like, I could snap. How hard can it be? And I did one snap, and it was all right. And then Coach Taylor was like, okay, let me see you keep practicing, and then we can see where you go from there. And it wasn't something that I was taking. I took seriously at the beginning, but then later, as I saw, like, hey, yo, could be something that I can probably start in and I can probably do long term. I was like, you know what, let me work hard at it and get pretty good at it. I would say I'm pretty exceptional at snapping right now. But like I said, being able to adapt is something that I like to say that I'm very good at. It's probably a skill set that not many people have, and it really does benefit you in football on and off the field.
Hmm. I want to talk a little bit more about your specials games because obviously, OUA first team all all star rush. That's a tricky sentence, but yeah, the rush, essentially the rush award is for a special teams guy because they name a kicker, but then they also name a returner, and then they have like a rush. So for people who don't, I guess Noah's, it's typically just one of those guys on the field during who aren't the kicker or the returner during special teams. And you were first team all OUA. In my biased but unbiased opinion, I think if U Sports recognize that as an all Canadian position as well, we'd be sitting here and saying that you're a first team all Canadian. What do you think really excels and separates you in the special teams game?
Honestly, I would say that the thing that motivated me the most was other players like sliding into my DMs and telling me like my coach is telling me to watch you. I had that happen to me a few times where my coach is like, okay, I had a couple players like I believe you know Alain.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alain from Guelph that transferred over to the Ravens. He was like, okay, I see what you're doing on specials. Our team's looking out for you, so keep your head on the swivel. And I always felt like I was the guy that everybody was watching, or the guy that everybody had like a personal vendetta against. And I was like, I don't want to be that guy. But I guess it kind of motivated me a lot in the sense that I had to be the first one on the play, make the biggest plays. My favorite thing is to be on kickoff. I mean, that's the first thing that people see. Kickoff, personally, is, in my opinion, is probably the most fun thing about football. It's the first thing you see, and then it sets the tone for the entire game. That's why even with Panda, I was like, I had to tell coach, I'm like, yo, this year, if we do anything right, we better kick the ball. I don't care if we win or lose this game, we better start by kicking the ball off and then putting our defense on the field. And that's what we did. And that's when we won our first year.
Mm-hmm. What's your number one goal on kickoff? What are you hoping to do?
Oh, for sure, body someone. Oh my God, we used to talk about it. Me, Jordan, anybody around me. There was James Peter. We were all be like, "Yo, I'll give you $5. I'll give you $10 if you can body somebody before me." And I was like, "Bet, I'm about to get paid." And lo and behold, like every time I ran down the field, there was somebody that like got in my way, and I was like, "Don't do that."
Oh man, are you like? It's rare to see, special teams turnovers that result in punts on the defensive side of things. When you were on the receiving end of a touchdown on specials in that massive Laurier game. Obviously Mike Miller made a fantastic play, and you just kind of reaped the benefits and the reward with the touchdown.
To Mike from my birthday present. That was my birthday present. He knows that. Honestly, our defense held it. I gotta hold that up. Give that to our defense. Our defense had us in that game longer than we should have been. We should have crumbled way earlier. But you know what they say: defense wins championships. When it came down to it, it just came down to the other team bending a little bit too far, and they broke near the end. Well, at the end they broke. Got that punt, and even me and Mike are very like one and the same. We love working, and we're very competitive in each other. So when I seen him running down the field, I seen the return guy drop the ball, I was like, okay, it's either me or Mike, who's gonna win? And Mike kind of like stumbled over it and kind of tackled him. I was like, if there was actually like, if I was mic'd up, you would have heard and I just jumped on the ball, and I was ecstatic just knowing that our defense did their job, our special teams did their job, and then our special teams actually scored a second return touchdown by Kalen Beaver, which was phenomenal. It made no sense, but very phenomenal. After that, that game was won by our defense and our special teams, which is something that a lot of people don't really realize.
Yeah, specials is such an underrated part of football, man. Like you can there. I mean, what we did. I worked 3 seasons, like 4 years over 3 seasons over like 4 years, and like man, the amount of games that I can just ring off that were won by specials. The very first game I ever worked, the Guelph overtime, like double overtime game, the field goal kickoff versus Lou Ward and Ferrero.
That made me so tired just to watch the field goals and then the touchdowns and the field goals. I was like, oh my God, can this game just end?
They went back and forth. One of the best that day was so hot too, but we had that was one I think the one and only time we had booster juice on the bus after. That
Mhm.
was incredible.
Yeah,
I didn't even play and I was exhausted, amped
yeah.
up.
That's always something to look forward to, the food and the drinks at the end of the game.
Yeah, and there's that game, and then I mean, even that double overtime Panda loss that we had, like there were some big special teams moments with Lou hitting that late one to tie it. That was like super long. The list goes on with just the importance of specials, and obviously that Laurier game that you and Mike had a big part into get that comeback rolling. And that game, man, that was a special game too. Like I think I've talked to a few people, like vets on that team, and they say that that's like one of the biggest wins that they've like had, during their like 4 or 5 years, right? Like because
Yeah,
Laurier had our number for a while too. There,
yeah, they're a very good team, big contender when it comes down to football. I mean,
Alert from system UI server. Low battery.
so you heard that live. My battery's dying.
Alert from low battery.
Yeah, you wanna? I just gotta go grab my charger.
yeah. You can go grab your charger. I
My
think
bad.
it's all good. Gotta make sure the laptop's charged, ladies and gentlemen. I'm on what am I on? I'm on 61% there now, so we're doing well. I normally keep my laptop plugged in. I'm just gonna be talking to myself until he returns because you know what? We want to keep it as authentic as possible here on Greels
Don't
Reels.
get more authentic than that, does it?
Yeah, it's more entertaining this way, right?
Yeah, definitely. I wish
Um,
we could get together, but COVID.
yeah, I know. Hopefully, we'll see what the future holds for this podcast. If we're doing it
I love
in
out
pardon
in. If you start flying people out east,
me?
make sure you know you have my number.
Yeah, honestly, I do really want to, bring some of you guys out here, Newfoundland. Like I know you've never been, eh?
Absolutely not. No,
Man, I would love to, just bring a bunch of you guys out here and really experience how things go on out here, and get you guys on some boats and do some fishing, and screeches in as well. Get you to kiss the codfish.
a lot of the GGs don't do well in water. Oh, there was one year, man. We watched these guys jump off.
The high the high the high
Yeah,
dives or whatnot. Yeah.
goodness. And then one of us almost drowned. I won't name names, but it was a sight to see. It was
No,
a sight
we'll make sure you're all set up with
to
life vest and everything like that. And yeah, man, I think you guys would have a blast, to be honest. I mean, I think screeching is in, and how like you kiss the fish, take a shot of Newfie Screech, like the classic rum, and say some of our sayings, and drink out of the boot. I'm trying to think of the other ones because the funny thing is I've never like obviously like I've never been like screeched in. That's always my favorite question is like when people hear about the tradition, they always go, "Oh, so like you do this too? Like you've done it?" And it's like, "No, like why would I do that to myself? Like that's just like
yeah.
I think you guys would genuinely have a blast, and I know football's growing here too, so maybe we could even have run a little camp, you know.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot. So this year is your was it the Schooners, I believe.
The what?
The Schooners, the new team that's going out.
Yeah, that's in Halifax.
Oh, okay.
So it's still like it's not like on the it's not on the island. Obviously, it will kind of help spark East Coast interest for football.
Yeah.
Um, there's been some programs really developing though, and like there's some like Team Newfoundland football establishing definitely more than like when I was growing up. So it's good to see. I know when the Red Blacks actually, and I've mentioned this a couple times, when they won the Grey Cup, Jeff Hunt, the owner, he's from the West Coast side of the island, I believe, in like Stephenville or something like that. But he brought the Grey Cup to Newfoundland, brought Brad Snopley, Greg Ellingston, and ran a few like camp days kind of thing. I guess not like an official camp, but like just kind of like fun little festival style of stuff. And kids got to go out and meet obviously two phenomenal receivers, and then see the Grey Cup and stuff like that. So it really did.
Spark interest.
Yeah, amplify that interest, right? Because it's tough when you're so far removed from like big markets in the city, right? And like hockey can still kind of grow because like over the years we've had like the Growlers and then like the St. John's Maple Leafs and the St. John's Ice Caps and other farm teams of like NHL extent like expansions and stuff like that. But it's a little harder when there's just like not really like any major facilities and nobody you don't really get to see it, right? Because a lot of times when you become sports fans, it's developed at that young age where you create an emotional connection with certain memories and teams and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
You who's your go-to CFL team right now, I guess? Or do you just follow your brother and hope he does well?
I would say the Red Blacks. I know a lot of people who play for the Red Blacks. Either them, I'd say I would like to see them do well, or Montreal. Only because very close to people on those teams. I either played with them, played against them. So I would say Montreal or Ottawa.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
No, I mean it's always a lot more fun watching those games when you know the guys like personally on the field, right? Like you really want to see them succeed and excel. One thing I want to give a little story now too. So I get around like the peak scouting times when team scouts are looking for the next top prospects, the next all stars in their league and stuff like that. I tend to get a lot of DMs and requests from guys to you know do up their highlight tapes and make up their highlight tapes. And I got one of those from Spooner one time, but the big difference, and which is why I think I think of this as, yeah, this makes sense why this guy does so well and everything that he does, is because he's the only guy to ever just want to sit down, basically have me give him a lesson on how to do it so then he could execute and apply. And I think it was first for like a school project, but then you applied that knowledge to like all your tapes, so you didn't have to go messing around anymore.
Exactly. I was able to put soundtracks on my highlight tape, and I owe it all to you. I remember calling you up at like what it was like 6, 7 o'clock at night, 7, 8 o'clock at night, and I was like, "Yo, how do I do this? How do I do that? You got to download this. There's no other way. You got to convert this." I was like, "There's no other way, man." But honestly, you could take those tools and apply them to anything. So I'd rather you teach me how to do it myself, and then I can never call you again. I'll just say thank you later on, versus having to call you every time and you see my phone number and you're like, oh, I know exactly what it's for, type thing.
No, I like the mindset with that, but I mean, just know too that I'll never roll my eyes when I see Rashad Spooner calling.
You always know something good.
Yeah. Man, honestly, the other thing that I wanted to mention too, which I think is pretty unique, uh, it's a very like one-off couple day experience kind of thing, because like obviously over our time with like the GGs, Break the Plane starts coming in the summer, and that's Marshawn Lynch's camp for people who don't know. And he's an interesting guy, like a lot of fun to be around and just kind of watch how he interacts. But I mean, you and him really, like, I think you really got the respect from him one of those days and stuff like that. And I snapped the photo of you guys dapping each other up and whatnot. But for you, I guess, what was it like interacting with, a guy in the NFL who was such a superstar, but then like also, being like, hey, this is a guy who respects what I'm about.
I wouldn't say we're boys and all,
Oh
but
yeah.
um, it was cool for him to actually remember me
Mhm.
100%. I would say the biggest part about that is like there's a lot of people that just want to get close to you because like they know your name, or you're kind of like a celebrity, or you play football. And even just being a football player for uOttawa, you kind of get the same thing. Some people are like, oh, you play football, that's cool, blah, 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 trying to get close to you and try to feed off of the attention that you get for stuff like Panda or whatever, and you're kind of just like, okay, whatever.
Mhm.
So I could kind of like feel and be kind of level-headed and understand where he's coming from in that sense. I mean, I remember the first time he came to Ottawa, he ended up going out, and right after I finished doing the camp, I ended up going out to go work, and then he ended up showing up, and people were like stopping and like literally crowding him, asking him, Are you Marshawn Lynch? Are you Marshawn Lynch?" It's like, yo, you're actually being mad annoying right now. Do you mind just like leaving the guy alone? And then he's like, didn't I see you earlier at the camp? I'm like, yeah, we worked. Well, I worked the camp earlier today. He's like, all right, cool. And I guess that's probably why he remembered me. But other than that, like, just some other guy. I'm just another guy. It is what it is.
No, 100%. I mean, it's just one of those things that it's pretty unique every now and then when you kind of get to see those guys that the world puts on such a high pedestal because of athletic ability or anything like that, right?
Exactly, and there's a lot of Canadian ballers out here. I don't think people know that. I mean, just watching the NFL right now, you're seeing a lot of players that are straight from Canada, and they're doing an exceptional job of really standing out and representing Canada. So I mean, seeing that, it's like they're themselves gonna open up a lot of doors for a lot of other Canadians. It's sad that this couldn't be done earlier because there's a lot of players that I played with that I've seen. I'm like, yeah, you could have definitely gone D1. You could have definitely played in the NFL. You could have definitely done this, that. But who am I to say anything? Obviously. So just having that, seeing that, it's just like it does mean a lot to players who used to play, still play, and are retired, I guess you'd say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and like the Canadians in the NFL this season have been so incredibly fun to watch. Who do you think? Who do you think ranks number one as the top Canadian in the NFL right now?
Top Canadian. Shoot, man, I don't want to say it because I don't really like receivers, but I'd say Claypool.
Yeah,
He's definitely killing it.
Yeah, it's hard to deny what he's doing. If you went up against him, one-on-ones, Chase Claypool versus Rashad Spooner, how many are you breaking up out of 100?
Jeez, man, I'm not really a cover guy, but shit, I don't know. He does a lot of runs. I mean, they do have him run the ball a lot. I hope I wouldn't want to go one-on-one against him. He's a tall dude. My frame, he's very athletic. Hey, let's just say I'm confident in my skills. I would say 10 out of 10. Are you saying out of 10?
I'm saying out of 100. Out of 100.
100. Geez. I would say I'll probably go 45 to 50.
Okay.
I'd go 45. I'd be pretty handsy, but pretty physical. But I would say 45 to 50.
Okay. Hopefully, you know what? Somehow
watching though. If I get a call, I'm coming after you.
I was just about to say, hopefully somehow, somewhere he sees this. And then, you know what? We do a Greels Reels special podcast on field, just mic'd up Chase Claypool versus Rashad Spooner, 100 one-on-ones, and we'll see if that 45 to 50.
Are we mixing it up? Are we doing like Nutcracker and everything, or we just straight like one-on-one pass?
I think, you know what? I'll let you determine the format.
All right. So he has no say in this.
I mean, I don't. Who knows? I think he's not too worried about the.
We'll see.
We'll see. No, I mean it's all jokes, of course. I mean, but I got to be honest. I would pay. I'd pay good money to have a front row seat at that match that evening.
Honestly, I would rather go against like Marshawn Lynch in the box.
Really?
I think I would. I don't think he would like. I don't think he'd like me calling him out like this. I mean, they called me out the day that he was actually at uOttawa.
Yeah.
They're calling me out in front of him, so obviously I have to be like, I'm not gonna let no one just run over me like that. Like, I won't let them treat me like Derrick Henry, but.
That's what because that's what I was getting at the beginning. When I brought up, the relationship and you being able to impress, because they called you out and they called your number, and you stood pretty well, pretty tall with that.
I would never. I don't know how anybody would say that they would let somebody run over. I don't know. I don't know what to say to that, man. They called me out in front of a guy and they basically said, "Do you think that Marshawn Lynch would run all over you? Hell fucking no. That's like my sorry for my language, but hell no. I don't know. You're gonna have to bleep that out, but why would I say that some guy is just gonna run all over me? That makes no sense. If you're a football player, if you're a confident football player, if you're any good football player, you're not gonna say one-on-one you're gonna get bodied every time. No. Obviously, they're gonna catch a couple good ones. Maybe 50-50. You may get trucked once, but you may truck him right after. I don't know, but I'm not gonna say that Marshawn Lynch is gonna truck me every time. Whether I know it's true or not, I'm not gonna say it. There's no way. You got to prove.
No, 100%. Like it's one of those things. It's just the mentality, right? And if you go into any game with that mentality, you've lost before you even taken the first snap.
Exactly, and they were making fun of me, and they're like, "Let's see it, let's see it." I'm like, "Well, I don't got no equipment on. Come on, I got a season coming up just now."
Oh man, honestly, like I said, I'd pay a lot of money. I'd pay a lot of money to see that.
Let's see if they had me on pay-per-view, throwing hands with this guy, or even just one-on-one in the box, Nutcracker. I just might do it. Just might do it.
Man, you never know. Like you're seeing more and more matchups in sport, especially the the boxing realm of things, matchups that you'd never see or even dream that would be happening, right?
It's getting out of hand now. It's definitely getting out of hand. This Jake Paul guy is calling out everybody.
I'm more shocked with like his brother Logan and the Floyd Mayweather lineup. Like that's gonna be. I genuinely think like
Gonna get getting hurt.
Everything aside from like the actual like matchup and the sport of boxing, like in terms of what's gonna happen in the ring, I like just with those two names and like knowing how like Logan handles like social media and marketing and just Floyd being like the greatest of all time. Like I genuinely think that might be the sporting event of the decade in terms of like viewership and people tuning in.
Well, not much happened in this year, so I mean, it would definitely be the best thing to happen this year.
Well, it's scheduled for February 2021, right? So that's why I was saying decade, because we've kind of lost a year in sport. Obviously, the pro leagues kind of kept going, but man, it's going to be tough to, I think, top, because I really do think this might be number one.
Yeah, I definitely watch it. Somebody kind of needs to teach those two a little bit of a lesson, in my opinion. But hey, if he calls out the greatest and he ends up winning, he has nothing to lose. Nothing.
I seen him saying that, and honestly, that's true, right? And that's such an undervalued aspect of going into something like that, is just the fact that you have nothing to lose, and if you lose that match embarrassingly, like he just wipes the floor with you, the whole world is looking at that as like, yeah, that was supposed to happen. But if he somehow knocks out Floyd, I genuinely think that would break the internet.
And that's the same way I look at the situation of me and Marshawn Lynch. If he trucked me over, like, you're supposed to do that. If he doesn't, it's like, I'm gonna become famous.
Hey,
like,
you might get a
star. It's gonna be a TikTok somewhere. You already know.
Take a look at the phone. You got the the Bengals or the Steelers or the Browns calling.
You already know what it is.
How do you think that phone call would go?
Hello? Is this Rashad Spooner? Why, yes, it is. This is I don't know who the general manager at the Bengals or anybody is, but this is the general manager for the Bengals. Just wondering if you guys want to play. If you want to play for us, hell yeah, I'll be down in a minute. I'll get my ass on a flight. I'll be there.
Honestly,
I wouldn't even second guess the paperwork. I would just sign. Yeah, nothing to lose. Nothing to lose.
Exactly. Eh? Take every opportunity as it comes. You were mentioning to me too, you're looking at, in terms of the next opportunity and the next things that you're doing, you're looking at a career in policing, eh?
I'm dabbling around, trying to apply everywhere. Given what's going on with COVID, trying to look for a job more long-term, more career-based. Obviously, something I can see myself doing for a long time. Sorry. something with a little more job security, especially with COVID going on. You stop and think about like what really matters, and that job security part is really something that's really important. You saw a lot of the things that were happening with the CFL. Was it on? Was it off? Same thing with the NFL. People are not playing games because they get sick. It's just that and the other. They're not going to get paid. It's kind of frustrating, and I've never been the type to kind of not really know what's going to happen next. And just that in itself is really, really just a scary thought, just not knowing what's going to happen next.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, just knowing that I'm going to go, I'm looking for a career in something that's not really going to be affected by COVID to a certain degree is something a little bit more reassuring.
Okay, makes sense. And I guess it falls in under what you studied at uOttawa because you did crim.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yeah.
How's that?
Hey, I mean, I came out with a piece of paper. I don't know where my diploma is, but I know it's somewhere. I can see that much. Honestly, I loved it. You learn a lot about people from all walks of life, which is something that I liked. Personally, I liked learning about religion, different religions in university. So that's something that I actually like branched off and kind of dived into that personally. But I wouldn't say that criminology degree will get you that far. I mean, you got the degree. It's just a benchmark, but obviously they're looking for something more. Places of employment are always looking for something more, and when trying to see where you can one up the other person applying, of course. Maybe I might start my own little podcast and get famous.
What's the podcast going to be about?
To be honest, it was gonna be 3 questions, and then obviously that went south really fast. So I guess it's kind of gonna be like maybe a traveling podcast. I would do some traveling podcast with people from different cities.
I like that. So almost the premise is you go on a vacation and you find some locals to sit down and chat with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's something I've never done, travel. And obviously in 2020 was supposed to be my year. I was like, your boys can go on trips. And then COVID happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I hope you do start that traveling podcast, because I mean, I'm definitely gonna follow that one on Spotify, and that'll be in my library for sure. I think it'll be entertaining. I want to make sure that Newfoundland is within at least the first 10 episodes.
Bro, I can't really say you're gonna be there, but I'm gonna get to you.
Okay, fine. You know what? Hey, better late than never. I think Newfoundland definitely is an underrated province. I think we got a lot to offer. So I'm trying to sell.
You're out here selling your city. You're supposed to say that. All your viewers are from Newfoundland. They're gonna shun you if you don't say that.
I mean, we actually, you know what, this podcast does get because obviously it's like end of the year when we're filming this, so like I'm getting all the analytics now, like the Spotify Wraps and stuff like that, and then looking at my downloads and kind of reflecting on how I'm doing things, and how we can improve and do more kind of things and stuff like that. And we have viewership in 16 different countries this year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So everybody.
I mean, I wouldn't say everybody, but it was nice. It was nice to see. Obviously, hey, anybody who is listening to this that is a regular, and even if this is your first show, I do want to just say I appreciate it a lot. I have a lot of fun, and then honestly, if nobody was watching, I'd still do these because you get the chance to catch up with like old friends that you haven't seen in a while and things of that nature, and even talk to people who are in such a unique threshold, because when you're an athlete at the university or pro level or any level, realistically, you've had moments where you've been at the top of some kind of category, whether it was, your peewee team, or, your high school team, or even your university team, or a pro and you're an all-star and stuff like that. And
that's the best.
Yeah. And there's a lot of mentality that comes with that. That's, super different and unique. Right. But no, man, listen, Newfoundland, Newfoundland is good. I love it, and obviously, I mean, I'm from there, and listen, you will too. That traveling podcast will be absolutely fantastic. The you're
There's only one thing I gotta be honest with you. Like I don't do well in water, and I just recently figured out that or realized that I get seasick. I was on a boat recently, and I got seasick. Like I am probably the biggest wuss when the ground is not solid.
I listen. I will say like seasickness. I mean, there's some people who get it all the time, every time they're on a boat, but sometimes it could be circumstantial. So you could have just had like a real rocky day. It all depends too on sometimes how the people drive the boat, right? Like,
Oh my man, the boat wasn't moving. The boat wasn't moving. It was just waves.
man.
But no.
Well, listen, if you know what, I might promise, man, being out on the water out here is a lot of fun. But if if what it takes to get you to come here and do one of those traveling podcast, even podcasts aside, just come in and experience Newfoundland. If what it takes is not to go out on the water, I will promise a dry land Newfoundland trip.
Perfect.
We'll even get a Bet Hamidi to join too.
Oh, that's my guy. That's my guy. He's trying to get famous with TikTok now. I don't know if you realized.
Yeah. I've gotten one of those snaps. My first response was, "Did you mean to send that to me?"
I'm pretty sure I got the same one. Oh my god, the Corvette one. Is that the one?
Yeah.
Ah man, a bed is a character. That's my dude. Oh my god, that guy keeps me going. I don't know what it is about him, but you'll have the worst day, and he'll know automatically. It's in the back of your head. He's in the back of your head. He'll literally send you a Snapchat, and it'll be of him doing something dumb, and it'll keep you laughing for the entire day.
No, 100%. Abed is definitely one of those guys who just like, honestly, it's an uplifting spirit to have around, and personality. It's definitely a lot of fun whenever you get a chance to chat with him.
But him too. He's a quiet dude. You have to really get really he has to really get comfortable around you for you to see that side of him, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%. I've enjoyed it, honestly, like getting to know him more and more over the years, and then like he's got a good story too. Just like coming in, being that uh, guy who kind of had to fight to get recruited, and then come in and struggle right away, but then with time in the lineup because he got hurt a little bit as well too. But then like once you're ready and you're 100%, man, he balled out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The traveling podcast though, because I do want to get back to a little bit of that, and just you said you haven't traveled much, eh?
Yeah. No, I haven't.
Where do you think your top 5 spots are going to be? When things open up a little bit, where do you want to head right away?
We doing Canada? Are we talking just Canada?
No, like the world.
Shoot, I want to go to Costa Rica. It's probably top 5, definitely top 5 actually. I want to put Canada on the map, so I would say like BC is somewhere where I want to go experience. Plus, they have good weather no matter what time of year. You can't go wrong with out there. Then I want to take my butt to Europe. I don't know where in Europe, but everywhere is close, so you could probably experience most of it in a very short amount of time. And then Africa, I would probably go to South Africa first. But I haven't really thought that much into it, to be honest. I'd say those are my top few places. I don't know what was that, 1, 2, 3, 4, top 4 places. I don't know if it'd be in that order, but it'd be somewhere around that.
BC is a lot of fun. I have family in Abbotsford, and I've been fortunate enough to get out there a few times. It's a good time. You can reconnect with Kessler because he's living. I think he might have moved back to Calgary, but I think he was living out in BC for a while.
But I don't know if we're on speaking terms.
Yeah, he's still
snitch. I can't trust him. Bad energy. But nah, I hit him up all the time. I'm just like, when you gonna invite me? He's like, yo, there's no life over here, COVID, and like, you're right. Okay.
Yeah. No, for sure. It's tough. It's like it's weird too. Like when you first graduate, and now it's like
What do you do
the
next?
guys, yeah, like the guys that you hung out with every day for so long. And like the thing is too is like within like the football realm, it wasn't like we were just hanging out for an hour and then we'd be gone. Like practices are 3 hours. Everybody would be at the facility pretty much the whole day. And now all of a sudden it's like Kessler's in BC, you're in Ottawa, right? Ottawa or Montreal?
I'm in Ottawa, yeah.
Yeah, you're in Ottawa. I'm back in Newfoundland. Bed's in Toronto. Like it's crazy.
Still got friends. You got every year you start off with 106 friends, and there's a lot of them out here still. I still, I don't know if you've seen recently. I went for a little workout with Donald.
Yeah,
Um, Donald Shaw. He's still out here in Ottawa. He's doing it big with his strength training. Kudos to him. I don't know what his Instagram handle is. I was gonna give him a little shout out, but I
it's
think
I think
Donald Fit or
I
Fit
know his yeah, it's something like that because he's his actual Insta is what like Junior Duck or whatnot.
something like that. Yeah, that
I,
sounds right.
man, I was working at here. I'll get it up because he is doing a great job. I went and trained with him basically up until the second shutdown, and then by the time the shutdown was lifted and like gyms could open again, I was on my way to move back. But yeah, what is his yeah, so his personal one is the Junior Duck, and then his fitness page is the_fit duck.
Yo, if you guys all give him a little follow, really shout him out right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been doing his thing. He asked me if I wanted to go for a workout with him. He's a strong dude, and you kind of forget about those aspects of football. I mean, just training by myself is one thing. I love training by myself because nobody really holds you back. But when you train with people, like I remember training with Jackson Bennett. I mean, having Jackson around you, having Donald around you, it's just like you see these guys picking up hundreds and 50s and 60s and 70s, and you're like, I got to pick up 110, 120. You always got to outdo the person around you, which was something that always pushed you to go a little bit harder, a little bit past where you thought was your limit, really pushing it.
No, man, you hit the nail on the head because I think that is so true. And I think even for myself, being fortunate enough to get in the weight room with you guys every now and then, moved weights at like certain points in those training sessions that I never even thought that I would like put on the bar or anything like that. I mean, I've definitely fallen off that train over the last couple of years, but man, like it's when you're surrounded by those type of people who are just always trying to push and things like that, like sometimes it's for the worst when you're trying to compete with Trey and now your back is messed and you're like, I shouldn't have pushed myself like that. But no, man, it's incredible what that atmosphere does to you.
Yeah, I personally, I just feel like it just makes you better. Just having those guys around you, having those guys around me felt like I was doing the right thing. Just having them around me. I would actually shout out Grease too. Grease is a funny dude. This guy shows up to the gym morning and night, pushing his weight, trying to stay fit. Lou Grease fit. You know Lou Grease. He moves very stealth. Like he's a funny character too.
Yeah, no, I love Luke. Luke's a good dude, man. He's another one of those guys too that like once you get to know him, like it's so funny, like really like the personality really comes out.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way it should be. You can't be showing all your cards one shot.
Yeah, I mean it's like I agree with that, but it's interesting because for me, sometimes like with the job and things of that nature, like having to be in front of like cameras or like doing stuff like this, and even like with some of the hosting stuff that I've done, right? Like you're always trying to show like that personality, and for me, I don't want to like I want all the stuff that I put out to be like very genuinely me. So
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting because it's like as much as I agree with what you're saying, it's just like I almost can't do that in a way, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it is like it's not tough to deal with, but it's just like it's one of those things where it's like yeah, like I'm very much out there in a way.
Yeah. So, what would you say is your most fun experience at the University of Ottawa? It could be on the field, off the field, after school activities.
Man, I'll run down. I'll run down a few because I
Top
think
three. I just want to hear top three.
top three. Okay. I'm gonna put these two under the realm of the same thing to count as one. Racing JV and beating Coach Carl in that jumping testing section.
Oh yeah, that was tragic. That was tragic. He's supposed to be a D1 athlete. That was tragic. Oh my god. But
I'm gonna rank those two together. But and now here's the thing too, because everybody was giving me shit for how I said that I could beat Coach JV in a race, and I mean JV was a track star back in the day too, and like
D1 football, yeah,
yeah,
you never lose it. It's like riding a bike.
I was like my thing was like, listen, if anything, worst case scenario, I lose, and you guys just got a 20-minute break from meetings. Everybody expects me to lose, and we had a great time.
Yeah,
right?
Okay, I'll give you that.
But when Coach White put the 100 down, then it was like, okay, if I win,
it's big money.
it's big money, and I don't have to. Everybody thought too that I put up 100, and I was like, no, I'm not that stupid. But like I was, it's that mentality of betting on yourself.
Yeah, you only have to hope that he tripped or something. If he tripped.
Here's the thing. So my game, because I had a strategy for this. I was like, he's gonna play with me, and he's gonna like kind of like at some point he's either gonna like start back sprinting or like slowing down and like taunting me and keeping it close to the finish line. So when he gets to the finish line, he's just gonna win. But I was like, when we get to that moment, I'm diving for the finish line and beating him.
Okay.
And getting with the mock. So I had a game plan, and sometimes game plans unravel. And what I didn't realize was that Coach JV was literally just going to start and finish and not even look back at me.
Yeah, he could not afford to do all that at his age. He wasn't taking any chances. He could have pulled something. He's just like, I'm just going to run full speed down this line.
Yeah, but and actually, you know what? Beating Coach Carl in that jump testing. What is that test called again?
The vert.
Yeah.
Was it broad or vert? I'm pretty sure it was vert.
It was vert. Yeah. No, it wasn't broad. It was definitely vert. So actually beating him, that's that always feels good. Even though like,
though, right?
Pardon me?
That was on the Vertimat?
Yeah, that was on the mat.
Okay. That one I don't feel like the playing field is leveled. Maybe he had long arms. If it was the other one, the one that you have to actually jump and snatch, I think he could have probably beat you.
Why you gotta put doubts in everybody? Why you gotta put doubts in everybody's head?
Oh man, you won. That's all that matters. You won.
Hey, listen, yeah, I got a great video of it too with all the guys freaking out and stuff like that. Kevin Mackey, Gagne, like all those guys were celebrating, and Carl was in disbelief. And the thing is too is he started like training for it after, man. The guy like he kept going, he wanted to keep going, and I was like, nah, one and done. I'm retired.
Take double. Okay, I feel you. Yeah, I mean, you really hurt his pride there. His pride. He probably was training all week after that one. You name it.
There is a little bit of a rebuttal with like for him. We did kind of have a rematch, but I mean, for me personally, I said that like because I had hurt my back, like I said, like Trey.
Yeah.
So, I couldn't really do it, but I just like I kind of. The thing is though is like I went down and I didn't even like get off the ground kind of thing, like because I just knew that movement like hurt and I didn't make any movement, so I didn't actually officially jump. But he was kind of pushing for a rematch, and I was like I'll try and give it to you, but and he might take that as a win. But I mean, right now the way that I look at it, I'm up 1-0. I'm in Newfoundland. He's in. You know what? This is going to be like a Logan Paul, Floyd Mayweather call it. I'm in Newfoundland. He's in Ottawa. If Coach Carl wants to come all the way to Newfoundland and re-challenge me to a vertical jump testing, maybe I'll take up that challenge again. But the way I see it is, I reign king. I'm at the number 1 spot in that.
Man, you're bad for that. Oh, but we're doing everything virtually now. So If
No,
you
no, 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 no. Virtually, he could dock it. He could just like lift the laptop up like that, put it down, and make him look like no. No, no. Listen, I was surrounded by you guys for like every day for 4 years, and the thing is like it's funny too because like I'm 5'10", and like when you're around football players and like guys who are 6'7" all the time, like you think you're short, and then like
yeah,
go out into the general public and you walk around campus, and then all of a sudden you're like the same height or taller than every single person.
hmm
So, like always like, and being in the gym with you guys and like you guys throwing up like 225, 280, things of that nature that like I can't even come close to touch any, and even the speed things and doing the drills and stuff like that. Like any tiny glimpse of a physical achievement, I'm holding on to that and I'm running with that. You know what? Because hey, I'll give a shout out to Pat Medore too. Pat, I still beat you on that one route. I don't care that you were coming back from like a he was basically rehabbing his torn ACL. I mean, he was officially back, but
he
he
should
was
have won. It's his fault.
hey, he was officially back, and yeah, man, I did like a 5 yard in route basically, and caught the ball. So hey, I'm one up. I'm one up on Pat too.
Man, this guy's really
If he,
just
if he wants to
calculating.
re-challenge me, he can hop on that plane and come to Newfoundland as well. I,
Okay, what's the other two?
the other two, I think that Panda like beating Carlton's streak, like that was incredible. Being a part of that, like in no matter what realm in sport, like whatever role that you have, like when the team accomplishes something as big as that, like you really do feel a part of it, and like you should. And that was just so special. Like we had come so close the year before, just that day in general. Like my dad was up, so he got to meet a bunch of the guys. It was pretty incredible. The way we won too, like it was like there wasn't any question either. Like it was like yeah, like we really went in and took care of business, and like man, like even the conversations like after that game, like the week after, I was coming out of a 7 to 10 lecture, and someone came up to me and was just like, "Oh, like, are you a part of the football team? Like, thank you so much. Like, this is my last year, like my fifth year, and I finally got to like experience running out on the field." So like that honestly was like pretty cool, right? And just that whole moment celebrating after like that, like man, it's tough to like rank like days in your life, but I think that is number one.
That's good. That's nice to hear.
Mm.
Well, that was the third and final.
Um, man, there's a lot, like just like even some of the small stuff too, right? Like I want to, man, because the thing is like for me, like being from Newfoundland, like I never get to go home kind of thing, right? So like I was always on campus and stuff like that, like for birthdays and stuff. My first year with the team, we beat Waterloo that year, and it was on my birthday the Saturday and stuff like that, and like going out and celebrating, like that was a lot of fun. Like it very much was family for me, right? Like the fact that like Bruder's mom brought me some brownies one of my birthday weekends as well when we were at Queens on the road, like going and basically spending like every waking minute of my university experience with like Trey and Ty and like um yeah, like all those different things, and like just knowing that like you had that like group and like family from like all parts, like that was pretty incredible. Like when my grandparents got in that car accident, like that was a tough day, and like we had practice that night, and just like going to practice and uh, chatting with Coach Roberts and like Coach Phil, and like how the messages that he kind of gave to me in like those instances, and like uh, you know really stuff that like I just kind of hold close, right? And like the birthday celebrations, and even last year having like renting out like Lexington and having all the guys around and stuff like that, like man, that's just like that's stuff that's priceless, right? And like, yeah, there's so many of those, like getting to know like guys' parents and like girlfriends and stuff like that, and like really knowing more of the individual as opposed to just like the football player that a lot of people know, right? And like, like some of the stuff too is like crazy, right? Like, um, I woke up one morning and went to the field and filmed Jackson's pro day with the Washington football team, right? So like that there in itself was like something, surreal. You got NFL guys kind of watching, being there on his like draft day, like even like Kadeem and like his combine day, and like how hard he worked for that combine, and to see it all pay off at the regional one for him to get a national invite. And I told this story on Kadeem's episode, but like Chris Jones came up to me and he seen my like uOttawa uh jacket. And for people who don't know Chris Jones, he's, big football guy in the CFL, long time coach, like really understands the game, and like is definitely one of the best coaches in, I'm trying to think of eras now, but I'm not going to be able to, hammer it down like I should be. So I'll basically, he came up to me and was like, "You're with uOttawa," and I was like, "Yeah." And he goes like, and I'm like sweating at this point because this was like my first season. So like, I'm not even really understanding, like, because why I wanted to go with football was because I wanted to learn about football, right? And like understand the game more, because I had never played it. So I personally still didn't even really understand the game. And so he goes, "You're with the GGs. Who's your best player?" And I was just trying, like, I wasn't trying to say anything. I was like, well, coach, like football's a team sport." He goes, "I know that. Who's your best player?" And I'm like, this guy's really going to make me answer this. So I copped out still in a little bit. I was like, "Well, sir, we got Jackson Bennett at the national combine. He's definitely our team MVP." He goes, "Yeah." And then he goes, "So what do you think of that Kadeem feller?" And I was sweating. I was really just trying to like keep it all like, I was like, oh, like I was keeping it all personal. I was like, oh, he's a great locker room guy. Like a lot of the guys respect him. I love getting to work with him and like interact with him, right? And I told Kadeem that story, and he's like, "Oh, bro," he's like, "You should have told him I lost 50 pounds to get ready for this combine."
This guy's out here telling
But yeah, so like stuff like that, right? That like, especially just like from being from like such a small town, and like football being such a foreign concept for so long for me, and then like all of a sudden, like some of the guys go on and have CFL careers, so now you're getting to know them at like that level. Like that stuff's cool, man. Like, seeing, we mentioned that kickoff, the place kicking game back and forth, like the triple overtime with Guelph with Lewis, right? So like seeing him like be as consistent and as good as he was in that game, and now seeing like the career that he's had in the CFL and like doing the same thing, like that stuff's cool, man. Like that's something that like I'm gonna hold on to forever, obviously. And like, there's still guys that I've gotten the opportunity to know and work with whose times are gonna come, right? Like even, over the years, like seeing guys go from like redshirt positions to ballers, right? And even the little things too, man. Like with guys who like maybe struggle with like some coursework, and then they really get like, they either like take a class with you, or like you get to kind of, have them in your group and stuff like that, and like work with them in courses, and then like they get a really good grade, and things like that. Like all that stuff, man. Like it's incredible to just know that like you were a part of it, right? And I,
exactly.
that's definitely more than three, and I copped out, but man, it's too good, right? Like, and getting to know guys like you, Spooner, come on.
You're making me blush a little bit. Yeah.
No, but how about you? What do you think some top three memories at uOttawa would be?
First would probably be Panda. The second time we won it. Winning was great. Obviously, it was second win in a row. It meant that it wasn't just a fluke. Like we actually earned our way, earned our spot as the best team in the city. But at the same time, during that game, we were looking for Kalen Beaver. Kalen Beaver actually proposed to his now fiance, which was, I was lost because this guy told us at the beginning of the game, he's like, he's showing us a rig. I'm like, that's fake. He's like, nah, it's real, bro. I'm like, stop saying it's fake.
So I don't mean to interrupt you, but like that there for me too, that's one that I forgot, but that wraps into that whole like family thing, right? And like,
Yeah.
bro, he asked me to hold on to the ring throughout the game. My like heart dropped, like my stomach like knotted up, and like my response was like, dude, I was like and I was so nervous, and like I didn't give him a lot of confidence in my response, but I was like, yeah, of course I can do it for you. But essentially, he went with someone else, which I think was the smarter decision because
Yeah.
I I run around a lot during games, right? So I'm like in the stands, I'm on the sideline, I'm on the other sideline. So like if that ever fell out of my pocket, it's like we have no idea where that is. Where I think he went with one of the guys who was like hurt or on the sideline. So like if it fell out of their pocket, it's either like right there next to him on the ground or like in the locker room. But yeah, like that man, that was a special day too. I honestly completely forgot about that one.
Yeah, it was definitely fun to be a part of. This guy looked at me before the game and looked at us, and I was like, I see them talking near the bathrooms. I'm like, yo, what's up, guys? What are we talking about? And he's like, yo, we have to win this. I'm like, duh. He's like, nah, like we have to win this. And he opened it and showed it to me. I was like, I gave him daps. I was like, my guy, don't worry about it. We got this. And that was a big motivating factor of winning that game because how are you gonna lose and then ask her to marry you? That was like, man, we can't lose this game. So it was always having a reason to win does help.
All right, sounds good, man. Honestly, this has been everything and more with what I wanted to chat with you about. So this is part of the show where I just hand the show over to you. So it's your show now. You can chat about whatever you want, life lesson, childhood story. The show's yours. I mean, whatever you want to talk about, man. It's all on you.
Jeez, I don't really like the spotlight as much as people think that they like the spotlight or they want the spotlight. It's only when you actually get it, you're just like, I don't know what to do type thing. Honestly, I don't really know what to talk about. What is your next plan? What's your next goal? What are you aspiring to become?
Honestly, man, I'm just looking forward to keep doing what I'm doing and do it better and grow it and really scale it. Honestly, I think that's in the simplest terms what I'm looking forward to. Right.
Mm-hmm. Are you looking to get into sports more? Do more of what you were doing out here with the GGs, or?
Yeah, I mean, right now, like the sports world is pretty much at a standstill, right? So it's all over the place. But I mean, with my new job, I'll be hosting a show. It's the Sports Shed. So essentially, what it is it just kind of runs down through a lot of local sport as well with like kind of what's happening in the main pro world of sports as well. So
Yeah.
I'll be producing that and co-hosting it as well. So I'll be looking forward to really taking on that project and really seeing what we can do with it. I know I've chatted with a couple of potential guests and stuff like that, and I'm excited for what the framework is going to be. And obviously, I always kind of like to approach things with like some form of storyboarding. So for people who don't or aren't familiar with that term, it's just typically when you kind of lay everything out and take a process of like, okay, here's what's going to happen in the first minute to going all the way to the end. So like for context in this podcast, like I have like my list of things that I want to talk about, but then also, I mean, in this format, it's a little bit more free flowing. So kind of going where the conversation leads you and talking about different things. But yeah, so just really, tackling that project and putting it out to the best that it can be, right? And always knowing that like with every episode, and this is with everything that I do, every photo is just constantly getting better, right? And it's like
Mm-hmm.
I put this out there and I do these episodes and like, you know, man, like listening to old episodes are tough because it's like, man, like you had such a great guest and like there was so much potential for you to just be better and the episode would have been better, right? But it's like it's subjective and it's relative because that episode got me to the skill set here now, right? And I mean, this is I honestly have no idea what episode this is. It might be episode 50 by the time it comes out.
5-0.
Yeah, maybe it might
Get to me?
what?
You waited this long to get to me? I should have been at least top 5, man. That's all right. Let's see. I see where I stand.
Hey, listen, not at all, not at all. There's sometimes too it's a strategic lineup, like just kind of I'm BSing right now.
I knew it. But let's just see how many viewers I get. Maybe people are gonna be like, yeah. I always wanted to know where the name Best Spooner ever came from. So
Hey,
so
maybe. But you know what? Spooner, this would have been a better answer is if I had just basically said like, "Hey, I didn't want to ask you at number 5 because I knew I wasn't going to be good enough for the best Spooner ever."
You know what? I'm gonna take that. I'll take that one. Yeah.
But yeah, man, I'm just like, I'm looking forward to just like growing what I'm doing, right, and like keeping it, keep progressing, right. Like it's fun to see, how you've come, right, and like with my field, I can look at it in like actual like digital products in a way, and like look, man, like I'm like disappointed in myself too because I'm just like, dude, like those were some like dope ass shots that could have been made so much better if you just like did this or that or like. But like I said, it's a part of the progression of things, and
Yeah.
it's cool to look back on too because it was like, it's almost in a way where like you see the development and like developing my style and like I guess my form of like being an artist in a way because like I guess photography and video and stuff like that is a form of artwork. So yeah, man, that's uh that's what I'm doing, I guess.
How do you choose who you want to have on these podcasts?
Yeah, so I mean, typically it kind of runs down through, a main theme is, athletes that I've gotten, athletes, coaches, reporters, like whatever. Like I'm expanding it now. It's typically been athletes, but we've had a couple staff on as well. But um, I
Oh,
think
you
for
had
me,
Taylor once, eh?
pardon me,
Did you have Coach Taylor?
we were supposed to record last week. He rescheduled. Same to you actually. Both of you
Yeah.
guys rescheduled on me, but
On the same day?
yeah, same day, same day.
Oh God.
So yeah, we'll have some more like staff ones coming up because it's always a lot of fun. Like I mean, the one that I did with the head coach of the University of Ottawa men's hockey team, Pat, it's not out while we're recording this, but it'll be out by the time your episode comes out, and that one was a lot of fun, right? But so typically that's kind of like the premise is just people that I've gotten to know through like working in sports. So whether it typically falls more on the majority of like athletes. That's just because
Yeah.
for every 5 coaches there's 20 athletes. But
Mhm.
no, so like I it kind of just goes with the flow. Sometimes it like there might be something that sparks me on social media. So like a guy might like post a photo and I'm like, oh hey, like he'd be a great dude to have on, and I haven't chatted with him in a while, and or sometimes it could just be like you send me a DM because you sent me a DM and we were catching up and it was just like, hey, like let's do this, let's do the podcast kind of thing, right? Other guys, like sometimes it's more strategic as well. That typically comes into play with like for example, when we're recording this, like the World Juniors are coming up, and like that's all starting to like get the ball rolling with that hockey tournament. So like releasing episodes with guys like Sasha Shemilevsky who played in that tournament. So
Mhm.
then you have like some content like curated to that, and then people are posting about it. So obviously, like if the U Sports season is getting up and going again, like when Panda Week is kind of approaching, like tailoring guests that could have like some cool panda stories and stuff like that. So it's honestly like I never really have like a structured system. I always kind of have like an ongoing list and things of that nature. But for the most part, it's just something that like sparks an idea, or I end up talking to someone, and it's just like, hey, like we can toss this here, and yeah, it's like I very much just like as much as I love structure, I hate structure.
Yeah.
So I have like a fine line where it's just like I'll kind of go with the flow, but also have like a mindset of like where I hope to get each thing.
Yeah. You know what? You actually just gave me a great idea. I might bring back the 3 questions to uOttawa. Since I'm not on the team, I can't be a target. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you wanted to be my co-host, I'd love to have you.
Hey, listen. So you want to do a podcast, a 3 question podcast?
Yeah, we might have to, and then ask different players. But the thing is, you're so far away, man. When
Hey,
you plan on coming back during like season or anything like that, or traveling at all? When obviously they lift some of the restrictions.
yeah, I mean, obviously, right now it's tough to travel even within Canada, being in Newfoundland because we have that 2-week quarantine
Yeah, yours is actually really strict.
Yeah, I mean it's working. So I think we're back down to like 20 I haven't checked today, but I think we're around like 20, 21 cases for the whole province. So it's just it's really tough to like go anywhere, right? Because I would definitely be a guy like I'm stubborn enough to be like, oh yeah, one football game on a Saturday. Let's fly out Friday after work, go to that game Saturday, film some content, do some stuff, and then like fly back on Sunday and be for work again on Monday, right? That's definitely my mindset with things. I think yeah, like I mean, I'd love to get up in the season and catch a few games. Obviously, you almost want to make the most of it, so I feel like Panda would just be the classic one. Or
Hmm.
yeah, I think I'm surprised with what you can do remotely now, though. Like, I mean, I was listening to on the drive out because I drove back home today for Christmas, and the podcast I was listening to is Sean Mendes was on like Dak Shepard's Armchair Expert show,
Yeah,
and that one was filmed remotely, and the quality is fantastic. Obviously, we're talking about like multimillionaires who have like the best Wi-Fi connection, audio setup, and cameras to make it look good and make it sound good. But yeah, I mean, we could definitely work something out remotely, right? Like a 3-person Zoom call. You do the 3 questions. We'll chat more about that. But man, I'd definitely be interested in doing something like that with you, right? Something a little bit fun, a little bit off the cusp, like really into a niche of uOttawa football or just Canadian football.
yeah.
Hey, maybe
I
this is the
gotta ask. Like,
pardon
you
me.
mentioned Sean Mendes. You mentioned Sean Mendes, so I'm thinking
Yeah.
like I never got to thinking like what kind of music you listen to. Are you a
Me?
country? Are you,
What do you mean?
you look like a country dude. I'm not gonna lie.
Nah, not. I mean, I think I look like a country dude because like Newfoundland, that's typically where a lot of people deviate in their genre of music. Listen, I can haul up my Spotify rap
Jeez, okay.
because you know what, like I love analytics, and I don't I want to back up what I'm saying, but I do know like
Hold on, do this, do this. Okay, go to your recently played. That's
I
all I want.
recently played.
I want to hear your recently played.
My recently played is a playlist called Viral Hits. So it's like all the TikTok songs that are like trending. So
Okay,
that's a lot of rap.
I'm looking
Um,
at mine right now.
I'm a big podcast listener too, though. So like so recently played Armchair Expert by like with Dak Shepard, hip hop workout mix. So that's another like basic one by Spotify.
So you're doing
Finding, pardon me.
so you're doing at home workouts is what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I got a membership at the gym too, like because Newfoundland's gyms aren't locked down, right? Like we
Yeah, okay, fair,
yeah.
fair, fair.
So I do some home ones. I try. I'll probably run a home one tonight just because like I drove today, so I didn't actually go physically. Finding Mastery with who's that? Who hosts that again? That's Dr. Michael Jarvis or Jarvis. He's like a sports psychologist. So his guests are typically like he's had Pete Carroll on. He had a really good one with Marshawn Lynch,
Um,
talking like taking care of like mental health and stuff like that. Um,
what's
okay, like
what's
this
his name?
one. Pardon me.
What's his name?
It's Finding Mastery is the podcast. I listened to a little bit of NF. You know what put me onto that though is Nick, the video guy at uOttawa. He used an NF song for the first year that we won the Panda for the Panda Hype Up video, and that song just kind of correlates with like the visuals that he captured, and like it always like hypes me up. So I always like tossing on like NF now, like their music.
So you're
Um,
saying you're not a country dude?
I'm all over the place, honestly. Like, dude, like you go in and it's like Billie Eilish Experience is my next playlist that I play. Like,
Hey, you have a
uh,
soft side. You get deep.
John Lucas. I've been listening to. Did you see the video I posted on my Instagram? The one of the like the decorative like the boats in like Kitty Vitty.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I used one of his. I that song is like one of his. So I liked kind of checking it out after. Because I get my music through like Music Bed and like those type of subscriptions. Um, yeah, then it's like the daily, so like the New York Times podcast that comes out with like a lot of news.
Big
Uh,
talk.
Charlie Puth. I like listening to him. Frank Ocean.
Okay,
Uh,
you on the south side. Look at you.
Mumford and Sons. I do listening to Shawn Mendes. Drake's there. Kanye's in my top 5 artists as well. I do think I'm a little bit all over the place, like with my music. Even like uh, I've recently started trying to like create some playlists. So I have one like chill road trip on, and it's just like a little bit of Harry Styles, Shawn Mendes, Fleetwood Mac, Elvis Presley's in there, Queen, James Bay, uh, Baby Jake, that cigarettes on patio song. I love that song. That one's a banger. Chicago Freestyle by Drake, Juice World's Wishing Well. Love Ride by Kristen French is a really good song. I got Kyle Roger onto that song one road trip one time. Um, that one's good. Post Malone's in there a few times too. Rihanna, Kanye, Logic, Chance the Rapper, Hoodie Allen, Justin Bieber too. Like I think
I hear you, but like, I'm not hearing any country. I'm really surprised. I thought you were gonna be a big country guy,
like I
Chris
like
Stapleton, Luke Combs. Like,
I listen to a couple songs of like Luke Combs. The thing is like I'll listen to country on other people's account, in the sense not like my own account, but like when like not like a physical account, but like an account kind of thing. And
somebody's actually present. Yeah.
yeah, and so like my mom throws it on all the time, and so like I'll listen to it in that standpoint. There's yeah, I mean, yeah, for me like country's just one of like, because Newfoundland too, like we have like a lot of folk kind of music, like so I really enjoy listening to like Great Big Sea. It's
Mm-hmm.
interesting though, like I typically only listen to Newfoundland music when I'm away, so I don't know if it's like a homesickness kind of thing, because like I have no urgency to like play it when I'm here, which I find pretty funny, unless like one of the classics kind of come on at a party or a pub or something like that. But yeah, I think for me, like country is definitely in one of my least played genres. Like I enjoy it. Like I mean, it's a great genre, but it's just like I don't know. It's just something like I would 100%. I'll tell you this. Like I'd 100% go to like a Boots and Hearts kind of festival. Like really enjoy like that kind of like outing kind of evening. But yeah, man. In terms of like listen, the thing is too is like man, like I'm so like when I'm hanging out with Tremaine all the time, like my playlist turns into Tremaine's. Like when I'm hanging out with like Ty all the time, like my playlist turns into Ty. When I'm hanging out with like Grease, like my playlist turns into like Grease, right? So I'm all like I'm never like set to like one thing. And like the thing is too is like I'm brutal with like names. So like if a song comes on the radio in that realm of things, like I'm the same with like actors. Like I wouldn't be able to tell you who my favorite actor, who my favorite musician is, because like I just put this stuff on, and if I enjoy it, I enjoy it. If I don't, I just kind of like skip. And there's not many times like I don't enjoy songs that like I have on. Like I don't find myself like repeatedly skipping. So man, I typically like put on a song, and like I think someone I posted my Spotify rap on my Insta story. So if you're one of those people who hate people who do that, I apologize. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, like I saw it this year, and it was just like, to be honest, no one cares what you're listening to.
yeah, I do. I love it. I'm on the side. Like I love seeing the analytics. I love seeing it. I think you can tell a lot about a person from like what they're listening to. But somebody like laughed at my top song. My top song for the year was like Phone Numbers.
Phone
Um,
number. By
yeah,
who?
it's one of those. It's like the phone. Phone. See, I'm brutal. Like I can't even like. It was my most listened to song in
It's
2020.
called phone numbers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I can't even like sing it to you right now. It's like who's it by? Phone Numbers. Uh,
Nick,
like Kenny Beats and Dominic Fike or whatnot.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, like that was my most played like song in 2020, and somebody laughed at it, and I was like, to be honest, I don't even know how. Like it's one of those things that like it's in my playlist, and like I'll hit shuffle, and if I think randomly if that's the song that's like one of the first, like say I have a 10-minute drive, I think that particular one just got lucky enough to fall within that 10 drive just constantly. But one thing that was funny was it was played the most on my birthday. The day with the most streams was October 14th, and I think I played it like 8 times. So
Where were you?
my birthday, I was driving around a little bit on my birthday this year. Yeah, I had some things to pick up and whatnot. So maybe it hit those shuffle things. But and who knows, maybe I did enjoy that song more than I'm giving it credit. But yeah, man, I think for me, it's really all over the place. Like I got no hate to country, but I don't like it's got to be tough for it to be like it's got to be a really good song for it to be like my go-to. Like I like doing stuff like listening to music in like the mood that I want to get into, right? And like so if I'm looking at like getting like really like amped up and like if I'm recording a podcast, like I'll just have like really good like uplifting stuff, uplifting songs.
And country's not it. I get you.
I find country songs like they're sometimes a lot of them just kind of like fall with under that like more somber kind of
Yeah.
lower tone vibe, right?
Mm-hmm.
But can you hear Theodore, my dog, going nuts?
Where you living right now? Are you living at home or are you just?
I'm home for Christmas, so like
Okay.
family dog's here, so that's always the tough one with when I'm in my apartment by myself. You get no dog interruptions, which is always nice. But like I said, we go for authenticity.
Exactly. I see behind you used to be an athlete.
Yeah, man. Like kinda. Like I do well.
This guy out here. Whoa. Oh, what sport did we play back in the day? Basketball? Like, were you a baller?
I played man, I played a little bit of everything. Let me here.
You go ahead and grab something.
Well, so the funny thing is my laptop's gonna die soon, so I'm just I'm using this time to also grab like my charger. Normally, but yeah, man, like I'm trying to think now where all right, so I got my charger now, but the okay, so let me see here. Cause now that I got my laptop charged. Okay, so here's the big one. So I was quite the bowler.
Jeez, okay. I can see.
So like
I actually remember this. I remember us going bowling and you were actually killing them. We're like,
bro, yeah, dude. When Coach B said that we were going bowling, I was like, I'm about to show everyone up here. Like that's obviously I had to take some photos first, but bro, like so these plaques are they're so the league that I played in, like I forget what it is, but they had like family awards. So like I would compete with like my dad, my mom.
Unfortunately,
so we would be
back a little bit from your true potential.
No. We so what these ones are in particular is like our scores would be paired, and if you had the highest score, like you'd win. So we got like, and we got 4 of those.
Jeez.
Oh wait, no, sorry. We got 5 of them.
Oh, this stuff didn't even make the wall.
Yeah, no, there's stuff that got to be tucked away in the drawers of the desk. My man, I'm not gonna lie, I just got really excited because my passport's been like low key missing, and I thought I found it, but it's my old one that was like punched holes in. So now I'm like, shoot, I still gotta find that. Man, okay, so the thing is too is like my mom has definitely like moved around like some of my stuff since I've moved out, obviously. But okay, here we go. So this is provincial tournament player of the game for hockey.
Okay.
Junior boys, so 09, 2010 highest average. Another bowling one.
When did you lose your love for sports for playing them?
I never lost it, man. I just wasn't good enough to play past high school. Man,
so you were all right at one point, though.
Pardon me?
You were a star at one point.
Nah, man. I think a big thing that like helped me, like, cause I never was like the best. I think the
That's
one thing
not,
that helped,
that's not what that wall says.
dude, man, my friend group though, the group that like I grew up with, we had a lot of like we played a lot of sports and we were like really good for a lot of years. Like, we played provincial softball and like we never won like the 4A tournament, but like the regional qualifier, like we won that like 4 years in a row, like all 4 years, like we made it and like competed and like did well. All right, I'll grab a couple to take a look at because you know what, I'm like I'm
Yo,
taking this opportunity to show off like my athletic account because it doesn't happen often. Okay, man, that was a workout just trying to get that. That shows you the type of athlete. So these are like two of my personal favorites. So this one here, it's just like a finisher medal. So it's a tally 10. So 10 miles.
that's crazy.
So I did, pardon me?
How fast did you run that in?
I'm trying to, bro, I might be a little, I'm trying to think of like relatively how good this time is, but how, like, okay, this was 2015. So this is my graduating high school year. I did 10 miles in 2 hours and 17 minutes.
That's good. That's good. I don't know what fast is, so I'm gonna say that's good.
Man, there's some people who can like crush that in like 45 minutes.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm probably not one of those guys right now. I haven't ran 10K since high school, so probably in the same boat.
Well, this is 10 miles, so this was like 16K.
Like same thing.
Yeah, no, this was cool. Like this was that was one of those days where like I had just like I didn't really train for it either. I just was kind of like I want to do this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely want to get back into it. Like for me too though, like I love beating someone, you know, so it's like and like being a part of a team too in a way. So it's like it's tough to like it's really like mentally challenging because it's like you're at a competition with yourself, right? And you're trying to beat yourself in a way.
Yeah, but you honestly don't know where the benchmark is, so you have to do
Yeah.
it here and then kind of like beat it the next type thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This one's my personal favorite. So this was I don't even know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this Newfoundland and Labrador soccer, so provincial soccer tournament. So this is the year that we won provincials. So what was like special about that one was it kind of became like I think it was my grade 11 year, and so like I was one of the oldest on the team. And I had been playing for like so long. Like my grandfather really got me into it because he was a soccer star like down in Grand Bank. And for me, like it was just like so many good years of soccer and like we played with like so many like solid teams because the year younger than the year because you know how like when they get caught like every second year you're playing with someone younger and then you're the older guy. So like the group so like my group, soccer was definitely the sport that didn't interest a whole lot of us. Like it was only a couple, like myself, Adam, uh, Kyle, and Haley was also really like that was kind of like the core group in my age group that liked playing and really enjoyed playing. So there wasn't a whole lot of us, like because the softball man, like we've been playing together for like ever, and there was like a core group of like 8 of us, 10 of us that filled out the whole roster, right? But so the younger group, they were like really, really good. And they were like competing well and they'd win whenever they were the older guys, right? So I just like had like so many years of like soccer where like I just like we couldn't get it done. Like it was either like a silver medal. I even went out and played with like Grand Falls one year and like because they were short on players. So that's like a 2.5 hour drive for me. So I went out and I played with them and like we were like favorites in the there was I think man I'm trying to remember because this is like 14 15 there was a questionable coaching moment in there because we were playing Saint Pierre et Miquelon, which is the French island, like it's France right off of like the Béarn area. Like you go to Fortune and you take a ferry and 15 minutes you're in France. So like it's like a French island, so we they would always come over because obviously they can't like play like recreational sport in France because that's like all the way. I'm trying to think of the flight. That's like an 8-hour flight, right? So obviously they take the ferry over and they play like in a lot of the provincial Newfoundland tournaments. So we were playing them in like a uh divisional crossover, I guess, in the tournament. So like you win, you go to the top division to play for the top gold. You lose, you go to like the lower division to play in that gold medal match as well. So it's basically like provincial A or provincial B.
Yeah.
So I genuinely think we could have beat them, but I think like our coach's mindset for us was like, because they didn't think that we'd beat the better team in the first division. So I think their mindset was like, we'll lose this game against St. Pierre, and then we'll go and we'll win the lower division. So I mean, I know like I still tried and everybody else still tried, but I think it was like, maybe positionally what could have been argued was like how long our best players were on the field for and like where our best players were positioned.
That's fair.
Conspiracy theories from 15-year-old Robert, but
Yeah.
so we end up losing a tight match against St. Pierre, and we get to play for the gold like in the lower division,
Hmm.
and like we lost that, right? So like it ended up biting us in the butt. So like that was like the closest I had come in like a really long time, and so like this one in particular was just like it kind of became a theme because we were sat in the hotel room with like the coach's son, and like they were so the Chaders are what really drove soccer for that age group because like Steve's such a great guy. Like I mean, years later, he's calling me like this summer to like congratulate me on like my recent like graduating and stuff like that, right? And asking me like what I'm up to, and but so I was just sat in the hotel room with them, and they had like I said, like they were winning like every second year when I was like a year too old for like that group, right? And I was just like, man, like for the love for the love of the sport, like I just want to win this year. Like I was like, man, can I please get it done? Um and sure enough, like it kind of became like a running theme of like do it for my nickname in high school tended to be it kind of fluctuated a lot, but it went with like Robbie a lot. So like the theme of that like weekend kind of came for like do it for Robbie kind of thing.
That's
So
cute.
but yeah, so it was just like and how we won it, right? Like we had a great game against Placentia in under the lights at like King George Field, which is like that's where the Memorial Seahawks play to. So the university team, and like we were under the lights and we ended up winning. There were just some crazy memories too. Like when I tell you like our our starters were such an intense group of like competitors and like people who like really wanted to start and like play at a high level. Our bench was more guys who like loved the sport but loved like carrying on. So like we're in like a massive like tight game against Placentia that night, and I think we're up like 1-0 before half, and all of a sudden like we hear from the bench like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm telling you, like in terms of like high school sport, man, like this was like pinnacle of competition. Like we are competing. Like so, I'm like thinking like, okay, like they're counting down to something. So I'm like trying to like I'm like, do they know what the clock is? Like time, like what's going on here, kind of thing. But I'm like, they're counting up. Well, like what the hell's going on? I look over. I shit you not, man. One of our guys is literally just like on the bar doing like pull-ups in mid game, and like the whole bench is like counting, and then somebody from Placentia decided it was like, oh, this dude's not gonna do me in this pull-up challenge, so he starts going, and then both of these guys are having a pull-up challenge like in the middle of that tournament in that particular game, and we're all just kind of like watching and laughing, and then sure enough, like our guy ends up winning, and like they were more like ecstatic for that on the bench than they were like when we scored another goal to like go up 2-0. So and then the final for that tournament, man, was it was incredible. Like we beat Placentia, then we meet them again in the finals. So like I was, we were feeling confident and stuff like that, and like man, we just couldn't put the ball in the net, and like our strikers just were missing on the opportunities for the longest time. And then like I said, like when you beat the opponent beforehand, like you do mentally think that it's going to happen again, right? Like there's no like doubt or anything like that. It's like, yeah, we got this. So we're down 1-0 for the longest time, and then Nigel ends up scoring. Who's the coach's kid, and yeah, I just remember being the first guy there to like give him a hug, and like now it's tied like 1-1, and like it got to that point where it was like now it's like back to like neck and neck again, and I'll never forget it. mainly because I was just like sat there watching. So I was a defender who would always go in for like our corner kicks and stuff like that because I typically got my head on a lot, and I scored a nice few goals like just on crosses, like putting my use my big forehead to all its capabilities. And I think it was either Solomon or Bursey. I think it was Bursey because it would have been a left-handed cross, or sorry, left-footed cross, and he just put it in, and sure enough, Marcus Baker took off and got his head on it and put it in the net, back of the net with like a minute left.
It's crazy that you
And
know these names. Like this thing happened yesterday.
I think a big thing for me is like it's kind of like my career, so it's like what I practice and like what I train with, right? Is like telling stories and like trying to reiterate as much information. And a lot of times too in particular podcasts, and we've done things with this, like this conversation isn't that, and it's kind of funny because there could be people listening who think this is the most boring thing ever, but the this conversation isn't as interesting if I can't remember like different intricate moments of like your career and like being around you and certain things that like you did, right? Like through things of like putting the Loic t-shirt on the Panda trophy, right? Like um if I had just came and helped you with that school project and then dipped, it's not like I even know, like I remember like the theme of that project. It was like
Indigenous people. Yeah.
yeah, it was you were looking at like all that, right? And particular things. And I even remember like awkwardly like just standing in that in that office, man, and like every like because you had to leave because you were a personal trainer for someone, so you had to like hop out for like a few minutes and try and sign people up, and then like people were coming in and asking me if like like is someone like coming and like because I weren't we in like the consultation room or something like
Yeah.
that?
Man,
But yeah, no. So I just like remembering as much as I can, right? Because I do think it makes those moments like more special, especially when you can recall on it. And I think a big thing with all this and like the podcast and the conversations, like a great thing is like I'm not gonna forget these because now I can just go back and rewatch it too. And I think I do accredit a lot of that, right, with the memory of it, being able to um fixate and document and have to know the story to tell the story, whether it's through like photo and things like that. You just tend to remember it a little bit more, right?
hmm
And the thing is too is like one thing, if there's any like social media people who are looking, or people who want to like kind of be in that career of like content creation and things, especially for like team sports, like if you know your athletes and if you know what they're about, you're going to get so much like better content, and they're going to be more receptive, right? Because like for example, I'm not coming up to you after we get blown out for any type of like content because
Yeah.
I just know that that's not like um you like you don't respond well with that, like you're not going to like that, right? But there are guys who are okay with that and just realize like and just kind of go with it, right? So um and it's like anything, right? And it's knowing things like, okay, like before a game, like Kessler's routine looks really cool, right? So it's like documenting things of that nature, right? And like because Kess used to always go like crazy with the tape on the knuckles and stuff like that, right? So it's like that's stuff that like more people are interested with because it's a little bit different, right? As opposed to just like the traditional like pads on, gear up kind of thing, and like guys who just kind of go with the flow, right? So it's like when you know different things like that, like it goes a long way, right?
hmm Yeah, it makes sense.
Man, this is like this turned into like you interviewing me now.
It was fun. I mean, there's a lot that we have a lot to catch up on. I mean, we haven't seen each other in like what 2 years. I feel like it's been like 2 years almost.
Has it been 2 years? There's
Yeah.
no, has it really?
Uh, Basically, I mean, after the season ended, I went ghost. Just went into working overtime, doing crazy amount of jobs. It's more like I see people, hey, hi, how you doing? What are you up to right now? And it kind of ends at that. I mean, and the last time we talked, I would say it's like around the end of the season, and the season
Yeah.
ended November what 2019. Yeah, 2019. We're going in 21. It's well, I would say it's about a year and a bit.
Yeah, it was that Waterloo game.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're in a bit. Yeah, man. I mean, hey, once things open up, you'll be doing the traveling podcast episode 1 in Newfoundland. So,
Sure. Let's wait. Let's wait on it.
I mean, hey, man, I think we've been going for like 2 hours. I think this is great. I'm good to wrap it up here. If
It's
you
good.
are,
It's good talking. I
yeah, man.
mean, always available. Well, not always because I'm always working, but like, just hit me up. You already know. You know where to find me.
Yeah, no, 100%. All right, man. I appreciate you.
All right, man. Take care. Have a good one.
All right, that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed. Take care. In the meantime, stay best kind.